TV. Now, Game 2 was crazy. Take a look at the difference between the Raptors, Game 1, Game 2. Plenty of fast break points. Game 2, significantly less. Now, it also featured 4 ties, 11 lead changes, and also a former president who has game as well. We now grant you all access.
You're listening to your home of the Raptors, Sportsnet 590.
Raptors talk this afternoon.
Playing in their first final. I thought they were more ready to go than Golden State.
Yeah, that's how you knock off a giant. You got to have everybody having the confidence.
I fully expect that Golden State will play a better game in game number 2.
In the opening game of the NBA Finals, the Toronto Raptors overwhelmed the Golden State Warriors, putting the defending champs back on their heels.
Now down 1-0 in the finals for the first time ever and still without an injured Kevin Durant, can Golden State bounce back and even the series?
Yes, sir. We're locked in, ready to go.
It's first to 4, not first to 1. So we're never going to doubt ourselves, no matter what position we're in.
Get ready to run early. Okay, they're going to try to throw you the best punch early. Get ready to run early.
Get it straight out the gate.
Game 2 of the NBA Finals underway from Toronto.
Bounce pass over to Klay Thompson. Thompson fumbled it, leaves it for Draymond. Back to Klay. Quick release and a splash. A 3-ball for Klay Thompson.
Here's Klay on the other end. 3-point line. Catch and shoot. Great. Good. He is red hot here to start the game.
Good start, guys. The defense is much tighter. Let's get a stop and run.
Plenty of time.
Keep running. You just keep playing and you go get it yourself.
McKinney turns it over. Van Fleet up top. Pascal! Bringing down the rain, the heavens, the sky!
Raptors playing with the force once again.
Gasol has Jerebko. Great cut. With a slam dunk on the feet.
Let's go! Let's go! Keep that pressure up. Keep that pressure up.
Stolen by Van Fleet. One man to beat. Van Fleet to the basket, lays it in.
Make him pick it up.
Kawhi with 6 to shoot, makes his move to the 3-point line. Has it ripped away, it's loose at half court, chases down, Curry's got it. Curry behind Gasol, lays it around and in. It's Curry now with 14 points.
They do a good job of hanging around. It seemed like in the last couple of weeks, Golden State's trailing every game. Again, it's a team that time and time again, they never overreact.
Klay Thompson, quick release and a splash!
If you didn't think this Golden State team was going to go down fighting and put a run together, then you don't know this team.
Raptors hanging on for dear life.
Cuts to the cutting. Klay Thompson, left-hand finish.
Cousins has made a big impact.
Steve Kerr made a tough decision, and the big fella has rewarded that faith by making plays and getting it done defensively also.
Cousins drives and finishes. DeMarcus Cousins now in double figures.
What an avalanche here from Golden State.
Cousins to Cook. Cook tries it. Knocks it down. Quinn Cook off the bench. Golden State leads by 10.
We gonna go on a run of our own. Stay with it. Stay with it. We gonna go on a run of our own. Just regroup here a little bit. Keep playing. Okay? Cut a little harder, work a little harder to get open. Let's go. Just get a bucket and a stop right here. Let's go.
Leonard.
Harassed by Green. Foul. Shots good and one. Raptors still alive.
5-point game. 5-point game, baby. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it right here.
33 seconds to play. Gasol taps it out. Siakam out to Green for 3. Bang! Raptors down 2.
Do you foul or not right now? You got to trap him to get it out of his hands.
Curry throws it. Livingston has it. Back to Iguodala. Iguodala puts it up.
Launches a 3. Buried it! He buried it with 5.9 to go!
Andre Iguodala with a Game 2 dagger.
The final horn goes, and the Warriors capture Game 2 here in Toronto.
It feels amazing, man. It feels amazing.
And the finals are all even at a game apiece.
You know, you got to come on the road and get a win. You know, it's always great to kind of relieve that pressure. Now we got to go home and take care of business.
We're in the same boat they're kind of in coming here. You know, we got to go out there and get one, right? That's all we got to do is get one, and we can do that.
That's what we came to do. We got to take care of home court. Dub Nation, get ready.
Kawhi dropped 34 points in Game 2, his 12 games scoring 30 or more. The other Raptors starters combined for 36 points. The bench provided 31 points. And as you see, the starters on the screen didn't necessarily perform like they did in the previous game. So Jet Terry is here, and I have to know, Kawhi obviously needs some help. So does it fall on the players? Is it on Nick Nurse to get the players more involved, or is it just individual player want to continue to perform better in the finals?
Well, I think it's a collective effort. Obviously, from a strategic standpoint, you have to understand what Golden State is doing to Toronto in the half court. They are trapping Kawhi Leonard. They are putting 2 on the ball, which will open up opportunities for Kyle Lowry to get spot up open shots, Siakam open shots, Danny Green open shots, even Marc Gasol open shots from the perimeter. So they have to take those shots with confidence and knock them down. The second part of that is get out in transition, run before that defense can get set up. And they've been playing well in transition. The first game, 24 points in transition. The second one, only 18, but the pace of play has to pick up for them, and they have to take care of the ball, especially in Oracle. You know, historically, Golden State can go on runs as they did in the third quarter against Toronto in Game 2.
No doubt about that. Now, before Steph and Clay were the Splash Brothers winning titles, there was another legendary duo who set three-point records and won titles in the process. Both of them were some bad boys in their day. Stick around. Game Time is on and is brought to you by YouTube TV.
Drive, pull up in the paint, one-handed, in and out, misses. Siakam the rebound. Green for 3. Bang! They try and knock it away from Curry. Curry throws it. Livingston has it. Back to Iguodala. Iguodala puts it up. It's gone. Andre Iguodala drills it with 5.9 remaining. What a gritty performance on the road for Golden State. And this best-of-7 series is tied at 1 game apiece.
Of course, you are now rocking with the best. Ro Parrish and Jason Terry running the two-man game on Game Time presented by YouTube TV. Now, it's challenging enough trying to capture that Larry O'Brien trophy. Doing so with players in and out of the lineup makes it that much more difficult. Klay Thompson, we all know what's going on with him. He scored 13 of the Warriors' first 11 points in the game, and he goes down awkwardly under 11 minutes in the fourth. Appeared to be a hamstring injury. The Raptors outscored the Warriors 13-11 from that time, but of course, obviously went on to win. So we await the MRI results. Klay says he will play, but will he actually be able to? The injured Dubs. Let me just say this right now. You see KD, you see Klay, Boogie, and everybody right there. We didn't even have Steph on there, who had some dehydration issues. The Warriors training staff, they're working overtime during the finals. They're earning every penny, and they probably are due for a raise. Jet, what is your take on all the injuries and the adjustments that Steve Kerr and the coaching staff has made?
Well, ring the alarm. These boys are injured. They are hurt. And that is what I'm going to have to tell you right now is hurt or injured. Because if you're hurt, you can go. If you're injured, you got to sit this one out. And so if you look at Klay Thompson and his injury, he's probably hurting a little bit. I don't think from the likes of looking at it and being in that position as a shooter and having that injury, it's probably a slight pull, which means he can gauge his play and go out. And in transition, he doesn't have to overexert himself and hit that fourth gear, right? He can go to 2 or 3rd gear and still catch and shoot and spot up and be effective. The problem comes on the defensive end where he's reactionary and having to move and cut people off and turn and push off of that leg, right? Guarding Kawhi Leonard, who we know is a tough cover. So it'll be tough for Klay, but he's a warrior. Hate to use that term, and he will fight through it, and hopefully we'll see him out there. But if not, this is a great time for Kerr to use his mantra, strength in numbers, and Curry. This could be a defining moment in his legacy. Now you know Durant, you know Klay Thompson. What you gonna do? Are you gonna step up and give us one of those Curry-like performances I think he'll be up for the task. But another great sign for them is the performance of Boogie Cousins. He can only get better. I mean, first game, limited minutes, wasn't very effective, but last game he showed up ready to play.
He definitely showed up. But just real quick, do you think Klay's injury, does that have any effect on whether KD comes back sooner?
You know, I think KD in his mind has a timetable, and I had that same injury. I was out a month, but I was 40 years old. KD's a lot younger. I think he's eyeing game 3 if he can get some practice time. No later than game 4 if he plans coming back at all. So hopefully we'll see him here in the next 2 games.
Now, the Warriors outscored the Raptors 18-0 to start the third. It was a part of a 20-0 run that began late in the second quarter, and they made history in the process. That run was the longest in finals history since the merger over 40 years ago. Now, part of that 20-0 run began late in the second quarter. Now, that is just crazy. So, looking at what the Warriors were able to do, it was very demoralizing to the Raptors. But how impressed were you? And we were just talking about this, the third quarter adjustments, they always seem to make at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, for them, what they've done over this course of their run, right, this dynasty that they've created, third quarters have been epic. They come out and they dominate you. Why? Because they get the answers to the test in the first 2 quarters. They go in the locker room, Professor Kerr draws it up and says, this is what they're doing to you. And then they come out and fill out the rest of their quiz, and they blow you out, especially in the third quarter. I mean, if you look at it in this series, they're averaging 32 points a game in the third. Now, game 1, Toronto was able to put up 29, so they held their ground. But in game 2, they were wiped out of the building. That 18-0 run put the Raptors to sleep. They fought back valiantly in the fourth, but that third quarter really did them in.
You mentioned Professor Kerr. We heard from him earlier today.
Well, that's what it takes. You know, you need your bench no matter what, but in particular when you've got a lot of injuries. So we'll just continue to go to those guys and trust them, and they've proven that they can really help us. You know, Bogut hadn't played in the first game in 3 quarters, so what he did was fantastic out there. Gave us a little different look with that lob threat. So we'll just we'll see what we've got and tee it up for game 3.
We always hear about the others. You mentioned Boogie Cousins. You saw Quinn Cook put up numbers. Andrew Bogut, the awesome insurance policy coming over from Australia. And, of course, Andre Iguodala, your fellow Wildcat. Looking at these gentlemen, the others, who are you most impressed with in Game 2?
I'm impressed with Cousins. I mean, being out as long as he was with injury, being able to almost put up a triple-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. He was so effective. Not only that, but his presence on the defensive end. He had active hands. He bothered Marc Gasol as well.
Boogie Cousins in the second half led the team in assists. It was so impressive watching him out there play. And not really expected. People thought that he was going to be done for the season. He's been able to come back in the finals, never been on the stage, his 3rd playoff game. And he still was able to come in and do work, which is unheard of in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, he just adds another dynamic to the Warriors' offensive attack because in the post, he's a threat, but he's also a threat to facilitate. And as you know, he's one of the best passing bigs we have, he and Jokic in Denver.
No doubt about it. So we talked about Denver. We're talking about the Warriors. Their offense was awesome as far as everything that they were able to do. We mentioned Quinn Cook. We talked about the others. Boogie could all get it done.
Yeah, they can get it done. I mean, Iguodala, McKinney, Cook, Livingston, without Klay in Game 3, we'll have to see what they can do. I mean, but right here, in transition, early post up, great seal, cutting from the weak side. All the attention's on Steph Curry. Klay, with Kawhi guarding him, gets an easy slip to the basket. Here we are in a pick and roll action. Ball goes to Klay. Again, pinch post. Cousins in operating logo ISO situation. Great give and go to Klay Thompson for another easy basket. Here we are in a semi-transition. Goes to Draymond up top. Curry running off a pin down game from Bogut. 2 on the ball. Bogut does what he does best, slips to the rim, and he can finish. He's not very athletic, but he can finish with the best of them.
Baylor, Kobe, Iverson, LeBron, Hakeem, the logo, Shaq, Jordan, Kawhi. All of them have had 12 30-point games in a playoff run. But who is going to show up for the Raptors? We discuss Next on the other side is Game Time, brought to you by YouTube TV.
But I'm Mike Wilbon. It's National Love Conquers All Day, Tony. What are your great loves?
Tony Kornheiser, family, work, my back tattoo of Mike Fratello. That's a sweet one.
I thought you'd gotten rid of, Fratello asked me about that the other day, and I promised Mike you'd gotten rid of that.
No, I've still got it. He's the czar of the telestrator, baby.
That's right.
You want something that he can telestrate on. He can telestrate on my back.
No.
It is so much fun to go out with him, isn't it, Mike?
It is. It really is.
It's great to be out with Fratello, in Cleveland anyway. I mean, he's like the king of Cleveland. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Clay is injured, Tiger is optimistic, and Andy Ruiz is the heavyweight champ. And we begin today with the Warriors evening the finals by winning Game 2 last night. Neither team was particularly impressive down the stretch. Wilbon, you were there. You're all over Instagram. Did you look at that game as the Warriors winning it or the Raptors losing it?
The Warriors winning it, Tony. This is what the Warriors do. They have great third quarters. That, as much as any team thing, is their signature. They've been doing that for 5 years, just laying waste to teams in the third quarter. They started on a 18-0 run in the third quarter last night, and they'd scored the last 4 points of the second quarter. That's a 22-0 run. They took control of the game. And Toronto tried their best to climb back in, Tony, but that was sort of a knockout punch from which they could not recover.
So this is interesting to me because I'm not saying you're wrong, but I look at it as Toronto losing that particular game. Well, their shooting percentage was terrible. It was 37%.
They were
not a
beat
single
up.
player. That defense has something to do with it, sure. Not a single player who got in the game shot even 50%.
That's right.
You're at home, Mike. You're at home. You've got Klay Thompson out for the last 8 minutes of the game. You got no Kevin Durant. You got Steph Curry out for a big chunk early. He's wobbly. He's not even well.
0 for 6.
To me, that's a game you pretty much have to win, and I think they lost that game.
No, Tony, the other guys are champs. And they
true.
develop talent over the season, Tony. So you get a kid like Quinn Cook, who you might not think of much for a year ago or 2 years ago or even early this season. And Quinn Cook can come in and get you a couple of threes that are bombs in the fourth quarter. Because you know why? Because he's practicing every day with and against Curry and Thompson and Draymond Green. By the way, you didn't mention Draymond Green wasn't out there, because he was out there.
That's
and
right.
He was great.
No,
the passes he finds Bogut with, and Bogut and Boogie, by the way, Tony, that's a combination you have to talk about. Nobody talks about NBA bigs anymore, but those guys combined to give Golden State a great game.
Mike, the guy who beat you ultimately is Andre Iguodala, who is 55 years old.
It's okay.
And there should have been a foul, and the coach is calling for a foul.
On Green.
And nobody is listening.
Right.
And you've got to give that foul in that particular time. If I look at this game in hindsight, what I worry about is this if I'm Toronto, a team that I think can win the series. But what I worry about is, can they win against the Warriors if Kawhi Leonard does not have a great game?
And
can
Kawhi
they
Leonard
win?
had a pretty borderline great game last night. Tony, you're right about that foul, by the way. I'm thinking Draymond Green's going to go to the line and have to make 2 foul shots, and he doesn't, and they get it to Iguodala. And you're saying, okay, he was like 1 for 14 in the last couple of games. Let him shoot it.
He made it. He made it. And he's like, that shouldn't have happened, I don't think. So.
The champs, Tony. Let's get deeper into what ails the champs, which is a whole lot. The most concerning of it has to be Klay Thompson's hamstring soreness, which had him limping out of the locker room last night, prompting the question as to whether the Dubs should turn to Kevin Durant Wednesday in Game 3. KD hasn't played since Game 5 of the Houston series, and reports of his readiness vary. Durant was the best player in the postseason before that strained calf took him out. So given all the circumstances, Tony, and what's at stake, would you put KD back on the floor now?
No, you don't have to. I think by winning Game 2, that ensures that you don't have to put him back in Game 3. You may not have to put him back if you win Game 3 in Game 4. I think if you put him back, it's sort of a panic move. It means you're rushing him. And I've heard Steve Kerr say a number of times, the last thing we're going to do is rush Kevin Durant, rush him back out there. You mentioned Boogie Cousins just a little while ago. He was very effective, but he's not in game shape, and Kevin Durant wouldn't be in game shape. Boogie Cousins looks like an elephant out there. He's got no particular speed. I just think by winning game 2 and evening the series, you remove the need to put Durant out there.
Yeah, but Tony, if Klay Thompson's out, you have need. And I wouldn't rush him
well,
back
in. Well, you can lose the game, and it's okay. You get game 4.
I mean, you can, but Tony, here's the point of getting Kevin Durant out there, and you make it with Boogie Cousins. I don't care how Boogie Cousins look. You look at the line last night. He was effective.
Line.
And Cousins had to come out there for one game in which he was not effective. He had to play those 8 minutes and get himself ready in game 2 to be effective in game 3. I don't expect Kevin Durant, whenever he comes out there, to be effective immediately. He's going to have a game to round himself in. Tony, do you want to wait till game 5 or 6 when you could really need him, and then you don't have a throwaway game?
The critical question, obviously, is how hurt is Klay Thompson? Because I think we would agree on this, that if you are missing both Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant, you cannot win. That's 50 to 55 points.
That's right.
And they have proven it's not so much that they can win without Kevin Durant as much as they've proven they can play. They're okay without Kevin Durant. They'd be much better with him. But without Klay Thompson, if that is serious, then, Mike, then I don't think they can win. Because I don't think that Kevin Durant's going to play.
But there's something we haven't dealt with yet. Let's do it quickly. And that's Kevin Durant's readiness. I mean, you hear all kinds of stuff from people saying, well, it's been a month.
I don't think he's
ready to go. And, Tony, I mean, there are also reports from people who've had some access to him that, no, he's not ready to play Wednesday night, maybe Friday, but not even Friday. So this thing varies.
Mike, we talked at the beginning of the series, and both you and I said, we don't think he's going to play at all. So,
Tony, I hope he does, but I'm not expecting it.
Let's turn to